Hello, and welcome to The Hacktivist. I'm Kevin Tame, and this is another episode of Artist Colony. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking you through how to design a card or an alternate art ID. I got a lot of feedback that people wanted to learn the process I took in building it. I use an application called Illustrator and also an application called Sketch to do a lot of my design work. And however, not everyone has access to those. Sketch is a Mac-only program, and also Illustrator is a paid program. I believe you probably can download a trial and use it probably for 30 days or something. So that's something you could do to begin doing this. But I was checking out Affinity Designer as a potential option for people to be able to quickly get up and start designing some vector graphics. If you go to Affinity Designer's webpage, you can see they have it's about $50 or it's $39 right now. They have a 10-day free trial, so I decided for this video I would just download it and use the trial to show you how to build a card. The thing about it though is that most vector tools are pretty similar, so I think you'll be fine with whatever one you have. Another option here is you could use something like Photoshop or GIMP to do the same type of stuff. The principles are basically the same. The advantages to a vector tool is that it allows you to do graphics and vector images. So here is Affinity's site. You might actually have to do a Google search to download the trial. Just do like Affinity Designer trial. What they did is they sent me an email, and then I was able to download it for a 10-day free trial. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building a card like a Netrunner ID, and the sizing for the Netrunner cards is 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. It might actually be closer to this poker size cards, this 2.48 to 3.46. However, I'm just going to do this 2.5 or 3.5 to keep it even, to keep it simple when I'm dealing with inches and stuff. So makingplayingcards.com is a site for printing cards, and they have these templates that has all of that you can use for to design your cards. So I'm going to download here this Illustrator one, the AI one. You could do Photoshop if you're using Photoshop, but since we're using a vector tool, I'm going to download the AI one, the traditional poker size one. And then what I want to do is I want to launch Affinity Designer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this poker size Illustrator design. Don't open recovery file. So here we're just going to estimate the DPI. It should be 300 is what it's going to be. So right now this is in points, which I don't want to use. So I'm going to go here to Document Setup. And you notice here that they're saying this is 822 by 1122. I prefer to use pixels, and so I'm going to be doing that. So the dimensions are 822 by 1122 at 300 DPI. This is ideal. This is exactly what you want. We're not going to, so what you can do is you can set up a bleed, but since they've already kind of put it here in this document, I'm just going to use it that way. Use it as this to be the actual size. So the next thing you need to do is to create, I prefer to use guides when instead of actually using this as my guide. So what you can do is you can actually literally come and drag your guides right here and drop them. And then here's my layer, if I hide that, you can see the guide. Since I know the math here, that I know that it's 822 by 1122, and then that the cut line is 700 by 750, and the safe area is 678 by 978, I can actually use their guide manager to populate these guides. So a little bit of information here before I go into building the guides about these different areas. The bleed area, we're going to build our card all the way to the bleed area, because when they make the cut here on the cut line, we want that to be a very smooth cut. We don't want it to like have like a little bit of white showing here and then a lot of like, let's say, black showing here. So if we go all the way over, that prevents that problem where it has a nice clean cut along the edge. The safe area is where you're going to want to make sure anything that you want 100% to be visible, be it text, images, you want it in the safe area. Because when they make the cut, there's potential that it could go into this area right here. So let's go on to moving our guides. I'm just going to go to search. I love the help tool here, as I can just do a search, and I want to just search for guides. So it's under View, Guide Manager. And this is going to pop up, and it's going to have my horizontal guides and my vertical guides. Since I know the math here, I'm just going to do the math. Basically, I'm going to take 822 minus 750, which should give me my line here. And then also 822 minus 678 should give me my line here. I'm just going to go ahead and create those real quick. Okay, I should now have all my guides, and you can see here I have this is where the bleed is, this is where the cut line will be, and this is the safe area. And so this is going to be what I'm going to use for my references when I am creating my card. You can toggle this back at any time just to see it as a reference, but for now I'm just going to turn it off. The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm able to snap to all of my guides. So what I do here is I have you can just click here to Snapping Manager, and when I first got on here, this wasn't enabled, so you want to come here and you want to hit Enable. So you can just enable it so that it will snap to your guides. It looks like there's a little tool here as well. You can just toggle back and forth, which is actually pretty nice because sometimes you want to take the snapping off, but I prefer to have the snapping on. So now what we need is the card that I decided that I'm going to use is I'm going to make an Argus card. So I have here Argus Security, and what I'm going to do is I'm not going to actually design a vector graphic here. I'm just going to use a photo because that'll be easier and quicker. So there's this site here called Upsplash, which I really like. What Upsplash does is it's a free site where it's just stock photos, and you can use them for free. They, as it says, gifted by the world's most generous community of photographers. You don't actually have to credit any of the photographers, but you can if you want. So if you come here and you type in building, you can look up some buildings that you could possibly use for your alternate for this Wayland card. I actually found one that I like, which I want to use, which is this building right here. Hide Obara is the photographer. So I'm just going to come here and hit download, and it gives me to say, hey, it isn't required to give credit, but if you want to, you can. So I'm going to just save this and keep this open because when I create the back of the card, I want to credit him for his work. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Affinity Designer, and right here in the tools, they have this Place Image tool, and I'm going to come here and select Hide Obara's photo, and I'm just going to place it. Now, when I placed that, it placed it inside this layer, which I didn't want it to do. So I want to actually come and create a new layer, and then I'm going to go back and replace it because I want to make sure it's in its own layer. I don't want to do it with my other layer. Now if you see, the image is huge, and we can look down here in the navigator, or in the transform tool, it's 1,300 pixels, or 13,000 pixels, I should say. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lock the image to make sure that it's locked because I don't want it to transform in a weird way. and I'm going to bring it down to the size of this document, which is 822 pixels. And that makes it 1,241 pixels, which is plenty of height for us. Now, if you notice here, the X and Y axis, it is off kilter. It's somewhere off on another outside of the screen. So I'm going to just zero these out to make sure that they come in the screen. Now, a helpful tool here is this align tool. This allows you to center the document or the image, and also allows you to align it wherever you need. So if I want to align it in the middle, I can align it in the middle. If I want to align it on the bottom, which is ideally what I want to do, I can just click that. The other thing you can always do is you can just literally grab it and drop it how you want. And it's going to snap based off of my guides and the edge of the canvas. So now I have my image there. I'm actually going to lock this layer because I don't actually want it to move anymore. I'm comfortable for where it's at, and so I don't want it to move around anymore. And I'm going to name this background image. It's good practice to make sure you keep organized and keep track of all of your layers. I'm actually going to add another layer here, and this is going to be my text layer. I'll call it text. And then let's get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a title. So if I go back to the Argus card, it says Argus Security Protection Guaranteed. What I want to do is just create an Argus across the top and then Protection Guaranteed underneath. So I'm going to come over here to text. There's two types of text tools. There's the artistic text tool and the frame text tool. The artistic text tool allows you to size and manipulate the text, and the frame text tool is just a simple box of text. In this case, for this card, I'm not really like modifying the text and like stylizing it, if you will. So I could use either or, the frame text tool or the artistic tool. I'm going to definitely have to use the frame text tool for the ability, so I'm just going to stick with the frame text tool for now. And so what I want to do here is I'm just going to create the frame all the way across. Didn't snap it exactly right. So, and now I'm just going to do Argus Security. I gotta spell that right. Argus Security. I'm going to be using Open Sans as my font. I want to make this extra bold because I really want it to pop. I'm going to center it. And let's make it a little bigger. Let's make it, let's say 16, see what that is like. How about 18? 18 seems pretty good. You can then, oops. You can then click this, resize it how you want. And that seems pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to add the protection guaranteed. So I'm going to just copy and paste, drop this below. I'm actually just going to copy and paste. That's a little big right there, so I'm going to make this, let's say, 10. I also don't want it to be extra bold. I want it to just be regular. Going to adjust this. And what I did there is I want to make it centered vertically so that it's in the middle of the box. I'm going to do that also with this one as well. And so now it's centered here and here, and that looks pretty good. So I got my title. I'm actually going to come here and inside my layer, I'm going to group them. You can right click it, or you can just hit Command G on a Mac, or you can, I think it's probably Control G on Windows. And then I'm just going to say title. So that's my title right there. And now what I need to do is I need to create the ability text. I'm going to come here and do my frame text tool. Do I want to do this? I'm actually not going to do this full width because I want to save some room right here for the deck requirements. So here is the ability. I'm just going to copy and paste it right here into this text. It's still black from what I had used previously, so I'm going to come here and change the fill to white, and I want to, it still seems pretty big, but I guess I have to remember this is going to be on a small card. And I think that's probably an okay size. Let's put it to the left, and let's give myself a little bit of room here. Let's see, can I break that down there? No. That seems okay. It seems a little squished. Maybe let's try a different, maybe the font up a little bigger. Let's leave right now for now, and we'll kind of see how it looks. We can adjust it as we go along. What I'm doing here is I'm making this another one because I have this "We Never Sleep" that I want to put in here. We never sleep. It itself is italicized. So just another little trick here is once you've escaped out of a, if you hit escape, you can leave the whatever you're selected on, and then so let's say I had this text box here and I was selected on this, you can hit escape to get out of it, and then you just hit the V key to go to your pointer. That's a common tool to go to your move tool. So V is a popular thing that I use all the time. So we never sleep, that looks pretty good. And then there's the ability. Yeah, that's probably okay. Let's see how it looks once we get the deck building requirements. So this deck is a 45-15. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to make another little text box. And I'm going to write 45. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Let's make it, we can make it 20, it's fine. You don't want it italicized. Extra bold looks pretty good. Actually, since this is 18, it looks pretty good matching the title. We might want to make it a little smaller. Maybe 16. I'm going to go with 14 for now. I once again want to center this because I want to be dealing with the objects centered. I'm going to copy and paste so that I have room here for my 10. Hit my V tool. This is a little tall, so I'm going to bring this down. And that is looking pretty good. What I want to do now is I want to create a line here in the center. You could use a line tool, but I prefer not. I prefer to use rectangle tools because when you scale things up with vector and you're using the line, it's going to keep the same stroke. And so if you have it on a single pixel or 2 pixel, if it grows, it's not going to grow with you. It's going to stay real. It's going to get real thin. And so if you use the rectangle tool, in this case, it will grow. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom in here because my snapping is kind of getting in the way. This is a good example where I maybe want to turn off snapping. And I want to make it, let's make it 6 pixels. So I can drag it to 6, or I can come here to my inspector and I can just say I want it to be 6. Now it's at 94.9. I'm just going to make it an even 95 or something like that. That actually looks a little wide, so let's drop it down to 90. And it's still a little wide. How about 80? 80 looks pretty good, but it was shrinking down, so I want to make it 6 pixels still. And I think that looks pretty good. Feels a little thin. Let's try 8. And that is probably pretty good there. Let's zoom out and take a look. This feels a little much. I'm just going to bold it. I'm actually going to group these together right now because I'm starting to, this is going to be my deck building requirements, and then these are card ability. So now we can grab these as whole sections. Let's line that up just like that. I'm going to actually snap to the side here. Oh, let me turn my snapping back on. That'll make it a little easier. Yeah, if I center with that group, snap it there. That actually doesn't look too bad. I think what I would probably end up doing here is I'd probably adjust things a little bit. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. And so what I would do now is I have a card that is ready to be printed. I would just need to print it and get it ready into the... I use another application to actually get it ready for print ready, but the file itself is ready to be used. So if I say go here to File and Export, I can there's all these different types of formats that I can export it as. Right now I'm just going to export as a PNG just so we can see it. This all looks pretty good. We'll keep it the same size and we'll hit export. And since I haven't saved this yet, I'm going to move this into my documents, and I'm going to call this Argus Security, and I'm spelling that wrong, front. Okay, now I can come here and I can look here at my card to see how it turned out, and that actually looks pretty good. Now what I would need to do is go in and create my back, and it's basically the same process. What I would do on my back is I would just create I would just maybe make an entirely black image and then put the I want to credit this photographer, so put the credit there on the bottom, and then also maybe say, hey, this was made by Kevin Tame. Something pretty simple. But that is how I go about making alternate IDs. It's using, I think, a vector tool is always the ideal way to do it, because if you want to start actually drawing and using shapes, it's a really powerful way to create really cool graphics. You're able to use the big advantage is you're able to use some of these tools right here, which are like your divides, your subtracts, your adds, to be able to combine shapes to start making images. The other thing is you're able to use your pen tools and whatnot to be able to really draw and start creating images. So that is just a matter, I mean, that's not my expertise. That's just a matter of you trying to build something. But that's how you can go about building a card. And so I hope you enjoyed this and you learned something, and that you take what you learn and we see a lot more alternate IDs coming out in the world. So thank you very much, and you guys have a good rest of your day.